Hey everybody, XL 10-Minute Leaders Live. My name is Graham Brown. We're broadcasting from Singapore all the way to the Bay Area, West Coast, California. The miracles of modern technology joined today on XL by Luke Hohmann. Luke, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Graham. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, it's a bit of a journey, isn't it, that got you here? And
Yes,
this is what makes an entrepreneur, the journey. It's
it
never a
is.
straight line, but that's the beauty of the journey. So we're going to learn about that in the next 10 minutes. Luke, are you ready?
I am. Let's go.
All right. So I know you're an entrepreneur, but the formalities are here. What's on your business card?
I know, and this is a great question because I don't carry business cards anymore in the modern world, right? Because we're just like zapping each other's stuff on phones. But when I had my last business card, it said founder and CEO.
Ah, okay. And was that for the current company or the previous company that
The
you
last
sold?
company, Contenio, which
Okay.
was also a collaboration software company in participatory business budgeting for large enterprises.
Hmm.
And so I sold that company, and then of course, completed my integration tasks, as is common when you sell a company. And upon the completion of those tasks, it was time to shove off the shore and start again.
And you started again. You started another business, which
I
I
did.
think is wonderful. That most quote normal people don't understand. So tell us about this other business this new business that you started.
The new business, yes, it's thematically similar. And so I think that that's an important thing for people to consider, like when an investor is making a choice about the kinds of fund ventures that they want to fund, or when an entrepreneur is considering their next step. The question is, is it completely wildly different, or is it somehow building on a foundation of experience that you've been able to establish?
Hmm.
So I think it's appropriate to go back to around 2010 when I founded Contenio, and that company was built to provide participatory budgeting solutions for large global enterprises to help them manage portfolio budgets. And
Hmm.
our customers were people like BMW and Salesforce and Cisco, who were managing super large budgets, hundreds of millions of dollars, and they were trying to create a more humane and more engaging and collaborative way to do that. Roll the clock forward, I started experimenting with these techniques in the public sector, doing it in cities to help engage citizens in the city's budget, and in schools to see what would happen when we would empower kids, not with words, but with real money. And I got really excited because what I saw happening with the kids is they were really digging into really fundamental basic concepts like financial literacy, like what's a budget and can we afford this, and civics. This idea, is it good for everyone in the school? Is it good for just a few kids in the school? So I started taking these same techniques that were working in business and doing in these other places. And after I sold the last company, I kind of realized that I had a deeper desire to create a profitable enterprise, but serving the ed tech market,
Hmm.
especially with COVID. So, Graham, one of the things that happened in COVID is there were a lot of in-person techniques that were starting to gain traction in the educational community under the broad heading of project-based learning. And in project-based learning, instead of like giving traditional assignments, you give kids projects, and through small team collaborative behavior, the children learn the content through a project.
Hmm.
It's the fastest growing part of education is project-based learning, and it really took a massive hit in the pandemic. So I saw schools doing participatory budgeting, and it's growing around the world. It's done everywhere. And I wanted to create a software platform that would enable kids to keep doing this wonderful technique, but now do it in a scalable online platform.
Hmm. FirstRoot. That's the story
FirstRoot.
of how that came to be. Financial literacy for kids. I love this subject because it's probably one of the most important skills surviving the adult world. And yet, amazingly, it's not taught at all in schools, is it? That, for example, a credit card, which everybody pretty much uses or has one, that very few people can even understand the basic concepts like AER or what premium interest and all these things are. It's amazing how much of a gap there is. And how is that because kids aren't interested in it? Is
Oh
that because,
no. Yeah. Oh no. Kids I mean, are you interested in money?
yeah,
Of course, right? So kids, of course, are interested in money. And I think the challenge that we have with financial literacy education is that we treat financial literacy like other technical skills. So we treat financial literacy like calculus or algebra, and that's not true, right? That's not how you treat financial literacy. If you look at the research, financial literacy starts the moment that you're born, because you're born into a family unit. And that family unit is actually teaching you financial literacy. The first identified financial literacy event of a human is around the age 2, and it's called a purchase request. Mom, Dad, buy me this cereal, buy me this fruit. And around the age 4 is the first assisted purchase, right? The parent goes to the supermarket, and the parent doesn't think they're teaching financial literacy. The kid's just, antsy. And so to get the kid involved, the kid helps put the fruit on the checkout stand, and then the parent hands the kid some money, and they engage them in that process. And parents don't realize that they're teaching financial literacy, but right there you have the basis of every commerce transaction, right? I'm trading money for a good or a service. And around the age 6 to 7, they're probably getting a bank account, and they're starting to see savings, but we're not teaching them, because here's the 3 components you need for financial literacy. You need factual knowledge, like what is an interest rate or a credit card, AER, as you talked about. That's a fact. You need a skill to compare different credit cards, but then you also need to know your personal disposition. For example, do you want to get a credit card that is associated with a cause that you care about? Because we can get cause marketing cards that perhaps improve the climate or do some other positive social impact, but those cards cost more. So now the skill is associated with, I'm going to pay more, but I think it's worth it because of my personal disposition. And all 3 components are required for literacy.
Well, you must have had some really interesting insights seeing children with money and financial literacy, and so maybe even some revelations, that you wouldn't expect them to think like that in those ways. What do you know about children and money now? And when I say children, but even maybe young adults as well, that you didn't know in the beginning of your journey?
Yeah, that's I had a hypothesis that we often shortchange kids. I have 4 kids, right? And one of the things, I have these, what I call a glass of wine conversations with my wife. And when my wife says, hey, honey, let's have a glass of wine, it means I goofed up. And one of those things that I goof up about is my wife will point out that I might have shortchanged the kid. Like, hey, you underestimated them. They can do more than you think. Like, let them do more. Let them make better decisions. And I think that that's the first thing that I've learned about kids and money, is that we underestimate them. For example, a lot of adults get nervous about putting real money in the hands of kids. And I want to stress this. It's real money that we're giving to kids to manage. They think they're going to buy a party. They think they're going to waste it. And they never do. They buy infrastructure. They buy chemistry equipment. They buy lab equipment. They buy drinking fountains. They add libraries. They add pergolas. They add new seating. Because guess who knows where the seating is needed in the school? The kids who go to school. So the most important lesson that I learn and keep learning is that the kids make good choices.
Why do adults make bad choices then? That's the other story. It seems
well,
like
they don't make perfect choices. They're still human.
Yeah.
Right. I don't make perfect choices with my money. I have a few, as I joke with my family, I have a few power tools gathering dust in my garage. And I have a few power tools
That's definitely a demographic thing though, right? They know exactly who their audience is. It's a certain gender and a certain age that they're targeting, who've got cash. So
that's
they know
right.
who they're talking to.
And I've got a few power tools that have practically worn out because I use them so much, right? But I'd rather my kids make a mistake on a few $1,000s in a participatory budgeting program than make a mistake like you suggested with a credit card when they're on their own.
These are great skills. A lot of it is confidence as well, isn't it? That they feel confident with money and control, that the fear is taken out, they feel in control, and therefore they can make better decisions. Like you mentioned, that opportunity cost between a cause-based card and a normal card, that's a decision that needs to be made, and they can have the confidence to make decisions as opposed to somebody just telling them, which is what happens if you don't have education, isn't it? That you should do this. And that then lends itself to advertising and, oh, this is what you need. People buy stuff, they buy it on HP, they buy stuff that they can't afford because they never had that sort of internal compass about money. And that really starts very early on, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think another thing that you brought up, which is really subtle, but I want to kind of highlight something you alluded to, which is actually really profound. Spending decisions tend to be made in isolation, meaning I don't talk about spending decisions, but actual investments, things that, like, in a sense matter, those decisions are made in conversation with others. I wouldn't, for example, buy a new car without talking to my wife, but I'd probably go out and buy a new pair of trainers without talking to my wife because she doesn't really care about my trainers and it's a small expense. But I'm not going to drive home with a new car and say, hey, look what I bought. Or I'm not going to go get a vacation house without talking to, say, my tax advisor. So what participatory budgeting does, because it's a collaborative process, the kids vote together, they learn to talk about what they want to spend money on. And that talking about money is exactly what you suggest. I gain confidence when I can talk about money. I gain assurance that I know how to make a decision and I understand myself better, which is really pretty critical.
Luke Hohmann, everybody, from FirstRoot. I feel the energy and the passion. There's something you really care about. And it's a fascinating subject as well. I'm sure people listening in the audience may want to go and find out more about you. Where would we go?
The best place to go is www.firstroot.co, just as it sounds, or just Google Luke Hohmann. I am extremely well known in the Agile software development community. I'm very easy to find on LinkedIn. So if you want to get in touch with me, it's actually quite easy.
Yeah, he's everywhere. Luke, thank you for coming on to Excel 10-Minute Leaders Live today. Really enjoyed this.
Thank you, Graham.